Fascinating to think of the inflection point that we're living through right now, because you have these inflationary pressures, you have the mechanics of the monetary systems globally where they're being debased, and then you have the censorship of assets with the West freezing Russia's treasury assets, and then last week Russia freezing Western bank assets within their country, and there's a lot of back and forth happening at that level, which
only adds to the case for Bitcoin, right?
Yes, definitely. And how would you describe this current environment compared to the environments you've seen throughout your career? Is this as chaotic as a 32-year-old?
Yeah.
I was 17 when 2008 happened.
Yes.
Saw QE1, twist, QE2, obviously COVID, European credit crisis.
Yeah.
This seems like the most chaotic time in my life.
It probably is. I don't know. If one of your family members or you lost your house, that probably was the most chaotic in 08, 09. So if that didn't happen, then this would be. I remember when I started in my career, was the late 70s. I was in college. Art got me my first job at Capital Group, and big break. And interest rates and inflation were rising into the double digits. The dollar was plummeting. Productivity was plummeting. The U.S., and that's one thing that's not happening now, productivity is actually accelerating thanks to innovation. That is a potent anti-inflationary force, because what it does is stimulate unit growth. As prices of new technologies fall, these new technologies boom and help productivity. And of course, AI is certainly fits that bill. But back then, I remember it was a little bit like now. Of course, we're not at double-digit anything in terms of inflation and interest rates. But I think we were at a tipping point back then because Chairman Volcker had come in and Ronald Reagan ultimately came in, and their policies brought inflation and interest rates under control and created just an incredible environment for the early days of my career, 80s and 90s. I think we're at a similar juncture now where everybody feels just so chaotic. And I remember back then saying, how are we ever going to get out of this? And, I put my economics hat on as we were watching the policies evolve, Volcker, Reagan, and we saw how we were going to get out of it.
River's the best place to buy Bitcoin. Go to river.com/TFTC, sign up today, set up an account, and start stacking sats. Back to the video.
I think a lot depends on this election. It makes this election, I think, very important. And what my experience is, the stock market's going to tell us who's going to win first, and maybe quite early. And I'm just saying these are the policies the stock market will reward. I am not saying anything. I'm not trying to be partisan at all. But if the market does see more free market, less regulation, more incentives for innovation and acceptance, and less regulatory backlash, even against AI. Now, we have this executive order out there. Then it will start rewarding strategies like ours. Right now, that's not happening. Right now, it is not happening. I think that's more Fed related. If we could get the Fed and perhaps an administration more friendly in terms of regulatory taxes, not raising taxes, not going to help anybody. It's not. We're talking Laffer curve territory here, right? If you look at the history of taxes over time, after taxes hit 18% of GDP, and they're higher than that right now, people either bow out of the labor force and enter the gray market or just retire, work less. So, raising tax rates is only going to exacerbate that. And also, as Art would say and does say almost every day, if you pay people not to work, they will not work. And that is what is happening now. And that is what has been happening. And some of it is unfortunate because of COVID and hopefully those people were able to get on their feet with help, but we're out of the nest now. You have to be. Can't continue to incentivize lack of work.